Hey guys, happy March. It's about a week and a half after our last average freeze and I wanted to show you around the garden. I'm going to start where I normally do if you follow along with the tour on this in-ground bed, which as you can tell is a smidge neglected with some weeds, but in the middle of the weeds, or kind of among the weeds, there's some buckwheat, and this we planted last fall. It went to seed and dropped seed, and some are starting to emerge now. So this is going to become a raised bed. So right now it's just kind of going wild, letting it do its thing, and then we'll fix this up soon. This bed has our brassicas in addition to the lavender and oregano. This oregano is a great example of when you buy transplants opposed to seeds. So we bought these originally in 4-inch pots at a local garden store, 2 of them, and you can see now that those 2 have expanded to take up about a 2x4, almost a 3x4 space, and it's just really lush and looking beautiful. I even tried to cover this section right here with straw in the winter when it wasn't looking as hopeful, and it's just like popping right up through the straw, which is awesome. We have some French breakfast radish over here, and then the kale seeds I started inside, and when I was hardening them off outside, they actually ended up with some cabbage moth eggs on them. So when I covered them with tulle, since they'd mainly been inside, I didn't even check, which was my biggest takeaway this season, because I ended up trapping them in here with some cabbage worms. So you can see they got devoured, but to my surprise, without any leaves on them, they have been able to grow back some leaves, so we'll see if they make it. In this bed over here, we have our garlic, which was already starting to come up through the soil in the fall, so wasn't sure how it would do in the winter, but it's looking great right now. We have heavily mulched it with straw in the winter, and I've moved back a little bit, and you can see there's some compost that we have over this bed now in the bare patches. There's a little bit of spinach in here too. We have a few square foot sections of that, and then a little bit more in another bed. All these beautiful plants right here, you might not recognize if you've never let your cilantro go to seed. It gets to be about 3.5 to maybe 4 feet tall. And this one actually is slumped over because this week we've had a hailstorm and a thunderstorm with some really heavy winds. But the cilantro plant is beautiful. It has these clusters of white flowers, kind of like the umbel family or carrot family has, and the bees love it. All pollinators do, really, because the flowers are so small. And then let's see if I can find a patch. Those flowers turn into the seeds, which are coriander. So you can then let them dry on the plant, and then you can save those seeds to plant for next year, or you can save them to put in dishes when you're cooking as coriander seeds, or you can even grind it up to make a coriander powder. So that's what they look like right there, those little green circles. We have a lot of cilantro here. We have some crimson clover as well. This is a really beautiful nitrogen fixer. It's a legume, and it's used as a cover crop a lot of times, and you can plant it in the fall, and then in the spring it gets these gorgeous flowers. We have some more garlic here, and then I think this past fall, I guess, I honestly didn't even remember this, and I thought this was a weed, but when I was pulling it up the other day, I was like, wow, my hands smell awesome, and I'm pretty sure it's onions or leeks that just happened to have the conditions right and finally sprouted. So that's pretty great that those are there as a surprise for us. In this bed right here, we have collard greens, and they get these beautiful yellow flowers, which are just like if you let your broccoli go to seed. So the flowers are edible as well. And then you can see in the middle here that they get these green pods, and if you let these dry on the plant, you can open it up, and this will be how you can save your seeds of the collard greens. We did this with broccoli last year, but we've actually never done it with collard greens because they haven't gone to seed before we've grabbed them out of the garden. So this variety just seemed to go to seed quickly this year. In this bed we have more garlic. We have 4 different varieties. I don't remember what they are right now. We got them in Boulder, Colorado this past September at a farmer's market there as a fun souvenir to plant when we got home. So this right here is hardware cloth, and I put that down to protect the soil from squirrels digging when we have seeds. So we have seeds in the ground right here. We have lettuce, marigold, and calendula all throughout this bed where you see that there's just compost. And the hardware cloth again just kind of protects the seeds so that they're not dug up or moved too much around. This is a red Russian kale that we have. We have some more garlic and some more kale, another little patch of spinach, and another collard green plant that has gone to seed and is just full of the seed pods and flowers. So pretty fun. It's always an awesome learning experience to let your plants complete their full life cycle and go to seed. So I highly recommend it because it's just a great way for you to have a good learning experience, and then you have some tasty snacks for pollinators. This spinach is just kind of getting lucked out by getting the shade of the cilantro. So we have some there, and then we have a little patch over here that's probably about like a 2x1. And this is where, in addition to the other like 3 square feet that we have of spinach, I get about 2 cups of spinach every morning for my smoothie, which is awesome. It's a cut and come again, so it just keeps growing back, and it's a great way to have a lot of food from just planting one seed, because you can eat off of it for months. We have another collard green here which has not gone to seed, and this is it's a different variety, and I've actually been giving the leaves to our chickens most often. We kind of got sick of collard greens a little bit after having them so much in the winter, and these leaves are just huge. You can see it cut a little bit beat up from the hailstorm we had. A little bit of that is from pests as well, but the chickens have been loving it. We have another big section of oregano. Again, this is just one that has spread like crazy. That was just a 4-inch pot from the garden store. Our sage, I've been so impressed with. It did not look good last winter. It's pretty pitiful looking, so I cut it back more than 1/3, which is what you normally cut perennial, woody perennial herbs back to, about 1/3 of the way. And I did more than that because it didn't look that great, and I thought it might not make it. But the leaves are looking really wonderful, and I'm pretty excited. This is an herb that we really like to have on hand. We love breakfast sausage, and it's always fun to make your own with different flavors. So this bit over here has our rosemary, and then our blue curled kale, which is something that I got from a friend on Instagram in Belgium. Isolde, she's so sweet. She sent these seeds, and these are doing great. They're beautiful. They did get damaged a little bit in the hailstorm. You can see some of the leaves just kind of are falling apart here. Some of them just got beat up really. We had about golf ball size hail, and we had a lot of it just a few days ago. So we actually had, luckily, not that much damage to the garden. I was pretty surprised. We have a little carrot patch right here with a variety of different carrots, and this has been really fun. It's so lush. I normally am pretty particular about savoring my seeds, and I don't plant a ton of them, or I don't like just broadcast them, sprinkle them down. I like to really make sure that they kind of all have their place, so I don't feel like I'm being wasteful. But lately I've tried just sprinkling a few down, and it's worked really well. So I wanted to show you how I know that they're ready. I look at the top to see how much foliage they have, how many carrot leaves they have, and kind of how big that looks. You can also kind of see near the base the foliage, and then I just kind of dig around the carrot also so that I can see. And sometimes it'll have a really big base, and sometimes it'll be like, oh, it needs to keep going. So like this one, it's not that big, so I would just cover this one back up with soil and the compost, cover it up and let it keep going. And if we look over here, you can see this one has a little bit wider base. The foliage is a little bit thicker, and it's pretty dense. You can see all this foliage goes with that carrot. So then I would kind of dig around this one as well and see if maybe it's a little bit bigger. This is one of the purple ones. It's so vibrant and beautiful. And if I think it looks like it's a good size, I'll just keep digging. Sometimes they end up still being pretty short, but normally when they have a large base, then they're pretty big under they go down pretty deep in the soil as well, so it's a pretty good sized carrot. So I'm just going to cover those back up. That's just kind of the way I check, and I'll check in with them pretty often once the leaves get this big to see if there's some that are ready. Last night I harvested 3 for a salad, and they're just kind of, they're succession planted, so I planted some, and then a week later planted some more, a few weeks later planted some more. Even though the foliage looks like they're all pretty similar, they actually will be pulled out at, like, with weeks in between. Here's some more oregano. So again, you can see how much it spreads. All of these were just 4-inch pots that we bought probably 3 years ago. Our last bed over here, our raised bed, has onion sets that we got as onion sets instead of seeds. There's also a mix of a few seeds, so you can see like these onion sets are getting a little bigger, and then these are just kind of popping up. They're a lot smaller, so those were from seed. There's also a few leeks mixed in this bed, and then we have some of our lettuce here, which we've been harvesting off of pretty heavily since before the hailstorm. I really wasn't sure if the lettuce was going to make it since it's just so tender, so I harvested a lot of it for us to eat so that we wouldn't lose it. And then before the thunderstorm the other night, when there was a chance of hail, I did the same thing. So you can see some of it, like right here. These have been harvested really heavily. You can also see that the leaves will still start to grow back on the sides. And this is like a 2x1 again, and we eat salad. We've been eating it daily or every other day, from just this section and then these 2 other square foot sections of lettuce. So it's pretty awesome. Again, it's a cut and come again green, which is something that you think is pretty inexpensive at the store, so you wouldn't originally think that you're going to save that much money when you buy the seeds, but actually you eat off of that same plant for months and months, so it's totally worth it, because that $1.99 or $2.99 seed packet might get you 1 thing of romaine lettuce at the grocery store, whereas if you grow it yourself, you'll be eating that off that plant for months for the same price. So it's definitely an awesome buy if you're looking for a way to save money through your garden. That's it for what we have growing right now. Our roses, I didn't prune back yet. I was waiting till after the last chance of frost, and there's just so many, and they're kind of going crazy, so we're letting them do their thing right now. And then it's a little hard to see the path, but right here is where we're going to be putting our tomato plants this year. It'll be kind of an experiment. So you guys will probably see that in the next video. They're ready inside and been hardening off, so I just need to plant them in the garden. So that's the garden tour for March, and I will show you guys around again come April. Okay, bye.